Hello everyone. We're here with Dr. Nancy D. Andrada, Ph.D. in psychology. She's come here today to talk about parenting and success. And success without happiness is a rich misery. And today we're going to talk. Our audience most Chinese Asian community right now. And recently we have unfortunate event where some kid kind of like committed suicide along with his parents, and it's very, very, very sad story. And this is not the first one we're encountering in our Chinese community. We also have other incidents where people, are facing challenges in their life. And they are also feel, uncertainty in this newer environment, newer world with different roots and this American style life where we are here born to be free, that's American way. And we're Chinese parenting. I'm more of like, hey, I'm your parents.
Hey, you're doing my talk.
So yes, that's why we invite Dr. Nancy to be here to give us her professional opinion, how to communicate with the children, and as the parents, how can we deal with it? So we are going to give a warm welcome to Dr. Nancy and talk about. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Hi, welcome. Hi, welcome.
Yes, come on, sit. Take a seat.
Yeah.
However you want to sit.
Hi. So today we're going to be talking about it's going to be a short talk. It's going to be 3 ways to encourage our children to be successful, but without making them miserable. Because what happens very often is that we put so much pressure on them to perform that the children actually feel incongruent and they go into depression and anxiety. I have had throughout my career, and I'll tell you a little bit about me, I have a Ph.D. in clinical psychology, and I've been in the mental health field for about 12 years, and I've worked with everybody. My practice right now has shifted a little bit into more of like life coaching and spirituality, trying to integrate the way that we belong in this world and how we operate. So throughout my career, I have worked with a lot of college students and Chinese and even adult Chinese population. And what I've seen is depression, anxiety, suicide ideations. I have seen substance abuse, and lately we've heard the news of people taking their lives and their lives of their parents because of that pressure that they have to conform. Now, one of the challenges with the culture, and it's not just the Chinese culture, there are other cultures as well, is that they come with a way of operating, and they are trying to adapt that to the American way of operating. So the first generation of children, Chinese children, are born in America, and they are adapting to the world, how they see it. But they have parents who are coming with traditions from China, and they are trying to adapt and also continue influencing their kids in ways that are culturally appropriate, so they don't lose their culture. So that's completely okay, because we want to keep the traditions, we want to keep the culture, we want to keep things flowing, and that's completely okay. But what I've seen over and over and over, there was a one young man specifically that comes to mind, that he said, I'm going to finish medical school. And somebody was asking him, okay, is that what you want to do? And he said, no, I don't want to be a doctor. Okay, but then why are you wanting to finish medical school? Because my parents want me to. Well, why don't you just stop and not go to medical school? What do you want to do? Business. Well, just stop and do business. No, because my parents will cut me off. And so that told me that, and when the guy was saying these things, the young man was saying these things, he was in tears because there was an incongruence inside of him of who he was and what he wanted versus what his parents wanted, what his parents demanded of him. Now, I'm not saying that you should not wish for your kids to be more successful, and this is why this talk today is about how to encourage success and happiness in our children. This talk is about how to help them be successful. I have a client who is, she had to quit medical school because it was horrible for her. It was just very depressing, very anxious producing. It was not good at all for her. And her parents actually were very supportive. Her parents never discouraged her, they supported her, but she had in the back of her mind all of the upbringing of the Chinese community behind her. And what did the Chinese community say? You have to stand out, you have to obey, you have to be submissive, you have to be successful, you have to make it out, you have to be a Ph.D. or an M.D. or you have to be something huge to make it in this world. So even though her parents were very accommodating and saying, no, do the best you can, she still had the whole culture behind her putting that pressure on her. And it was horrible because she's an artist by heart. She loves people. And medical school was just this competition, this narrow-mindedness that did not match with her. She could be successful at doing other things, but she was not following her heart because she was following the culture. So some of the things that I want you to learn on this talk today, and we'll open it up to questions in a little bit, is 3 ways in which we unknowingly put pressure on our children. And this is not just the Chinese culture, it's every culture. The root cause of their misery and ours, in 3 ways to encourage success and happiness. So the first thing that I've seen in many cultures that we put pressure on our children is when we start comparing them. Oh, how's your kid? Oh, what school did he go to? Oh, what is he studying? Did you see that? They're doing this. Oh, we have to do better than them. That comparison. Oh, your brother is so smart. You need to study like your brother. That comparison destroys their self-esteem and destroys yours too, because you're constantly thinking, what is everybody else doing? I need to be better, or I need to do as well, at least. And so when we put pressure on our children to compare themselves to somebody else, we don't allow them to develop their inner strength in what they believe is right for them. They're constantly looking outside of themselves to check how good they're doing, instead of trusting their knowledge, their self-esteem. Their self-esteem is actually based on how everybody else is looking at them, how everybody else is doing compared to them, or how they're doing compared to somebody else. So that's one way that we put pressure on our children. We don't mean to, it's just part of the culture. I mean, the first thing that, when you see a friend, the first thing you say is like, oh, how's Sam doing? He's doing good. What college is he going to? How is he doing in college? What is he studying? Those are the first questions that come out of our mouth. And we don't mean to make it in a comparison, but it's instinctually. So that's the way that we unknowingly are putting pressure. The second way that we put pressure without knowing is expectations. When we have really high expectations of our children. Our children have to do a 4.5 GPA, and they have to get to this school, and we're gonna find tutors for them, and we're going to put pressure on them. And something I hear very often is, either from the parents or from the kids, is I don't know what happened to my child. He was or she was such a good girl, such a good boy when he was with us. And I don't know, he went to college and changed. What makes them a good boy or a good girl? They were obedient. They didn't say a thing. They did everything you told them to do. They were robots. And so your expectations was, you are a good kid if you behave in this way. You get out of this norm and you're a bad kid. And so instinctually, the kids are saying, well, in order to earn my parents' respect and love, I have to comply and behave in this way. But guess what happens? As soon as they leave for college, they change. They change completely because they're not under the helicopter parent watching them. Now, there are some parents that continue to monitor what the kids do, even in college. When are your classes? How did you score on this? What are you studying? Are you taking this extra thing? They continue molding their kids and not letting them be who they are developing to be. They are creating what they believe the kids should be. And the thing is that many parents say, well, if my kid did this different thing, oh my God, what are people going to say about me? I'm a bad parent. The kids become the reflection of the parents instead of their own person. Oh my God, I don't want my kid to go this way because what is everybody gonna say? Or did you do bad in school? Oh no, I must be a bad parent. It has such an impact, that expectation that we have on our kids, that the kids don't know how to behave anymore. They don't know how to be themselves anymore. And they forget to trust themselves. I remember growing up, my parents were very helicopter parents. I could not make a phone call without telling them how long I was going to be on the phone and who I was going to call and why I was calling. I could not buy a pencil without telling them where I was going to go, how long am I going to take. It was just ridiculous. So when I moved out, I moved with my sister, my oldest sister, and I remember one time some of the neighbors came up and said hey Nancy, do you want to come and play volleyball with us? And I went up to my sister hey, can I go play volleyball? And my sister was like, you're an adult. I'm not your parent. You make your own decisions. And I sat there. I don't know what to choose. I don't know what's right for me. They make the decisions all the time for me. I have no idea what's right for me. So what happened then, I had to learn my own decisions. And I had no one to protect me or advise me. Because before I was so overprotected that I was not allowed to make mistakes, to make my own decisions. But now that I pushed away from that, I had to make my own mistakes and my own decisions. And it was very difficult to do. Very, very, very hard. So the third way in which we unknowingly put pressure on our children is this nonverbal communication. So the nonverbal communication is this, oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, do whatever you want. The face says it all, right? Or, oh, you want to do that? Well, sorry, but we're not going to pay for your college. You're not going to have a car. We're not going to give you your phone. Nonverbal communication is a way of manipulating the way that we want our kids to behave. Hey, can you stop everything that you're doing and go take the trash out? I don't care. I didn't ask you what you're doing. I don't care what you're doing. You're going to obey me because I say so. You have no persona. You're my little slave. Of course, I'm exaggerating. You wouldn't say that to your kid. But in that sense, we are telling our kids, you have no voice. It's a nonverbal way of saying, you have no persona, you have no voice. In many ways, we behave like helicopter parents, and we give messages with the way that we behave ourselves. So something happened in the street, And what do? Oh, let's just ignore it. Let's just keep walking. Let's not say anything. Mom, somebody at school told me this. Oh, just ignore them. Forget about it. What are the messages that we're not saying, but we are saying? We are talking about how they need to be submissive, how they cannot stand for themselves, how they need to be quiet. We're not telling them directly, like, hey, listen, you need to be submissive. We're not telling them directly, this is how you need to behave. Indirectly, we're telling them, this is the way you need to act. You are here in the United States, and you need to be the best that you can be and make the most money that you can have, and you have to have a Mercedes because that's the car that we all drive and we have to do really well, and this is the stereotype we have to fulfill.
Go to Ivy League school.
And go to Ivy League school and have a 4 million GPA.
5.0
Yes,
nowadays.
exactly.
With APs.
Right. And so this is the non-verbal ways that we put pressure on our children to perform, to do that. Now, what is the consequence of putting this pressure is, like some of my clients said, anxiety, depression, suicide, substance use. We don't see it because the children are behaving. They're doing really well. Look at my son, is doing so good. Why? Because he's not answering back. He's not staying out late. He has a 4.5 GPA. He's such a good boy or good girl, and they just do what I say. That makes him a good person? No, that makes him a robot. No feelings, no desires, no opinions, nothing like that. And so we believe that that's the way, but we're not accepting them the way they are. And so what happens is they won't tell you how they really feel. They won't trust you with that. They won't open up to you to tell you straightforward and say, I don't want to do that. Or can you please not criticize me? Or can you ask me first, like saying, what I'm doing? Can you respect? They would never say a word. So what happens with all of these emotions? They swallow them up, they suppress them, and they turn into depression, anxiety, substance use, suicide, all of this, you name it. It's an internal dichotomy, an internal struggle, an internal incongruence. I cannot be who I want to be. I have to be what my parents want me to be. Now, I don't want you to think about, like, I'm such a bad parent because of all of these things I shouldn't have been doing and now I'm doing it. How am I going to correct this? I want you to look at the second piece here, which is, why did we do this? There is a root cause for this. And the root cause is culture. This culture of control and competition. When you look at people from other cultures, they never think, or some cultures do, but not all cultures. They don't think, okay, are you playing violin? And are you excelling at this sport? Are you the best one that you can be? Are you taking Chinese lessons on Saturdays? Are you doing this? Is your schedule packed to be the best ever that you can be? You see a lot of American kids surfing all the time and smoking pot and doing all this stuff. If you see Asian, they will be studying. They will be taking a class. They will be trying to do everything that they need to be doing. But they miss childhood. They miss joy. They miss developing their own skills. Why? Because they are busy fulfilling what their parents say is what's successful for them. So the problem is not necessarily encouraging them. I'll give you an example. My daughter, I wanted her to go to medical school and study neurology and all of that, right? But she was an inventor. All the time she would come to me and say, like, what if we create this thing and we make it go this way and da-da-da. And I said, there's something here. I want to pay attention to that. And I said, why don't you start a little invention book? So she started creating. We would go to the store, and I said, okay, pick a cereal. Aisle full of cereals for her to pick. And what would she do? This goes here, this is out of place, this goes there. And I'm like, no, pick a cereal. We're not here to organize and systemize this thing. But I was paying attention. What was driving her? Not what I wanted. Now, did she have a 4.5 GPA? Absolutely not. Did she get into a great school? Absolutely yes. Did she study medical school? Nope. She went into engineering because it was her passion, green engineering. That was for her. That's what she wanted to do. So am I saying, oh, discourage your kids to be successful? No, just listen. Listen to them. What is it that they will be passionate about? Because I'm telling you, my daughter has been in college and it's been grueling for her. Grueling, it's horrible for her, college. So much pressure, she's working and she's doing a cappella and she's going to water polo, she's doing all of these things. But there's a vision for her that keeps her going. And the vision is coming from inside of me, not from mom. It's coming from inside of her. That drive to improve the world, that's coming from her. And so this is what we need to do. But what happens in many cultures is that we develop this need to compete, to be better, to stand out, especially in a country that everybody's pretty much equal. I grew up in a household I'm the 7th of 9 children. Imagine, a lot of kids, right? And all of my siblings were straight A students. How do I stand out? How? I had to be the rebel. I had to stand out somehow. So this is what's happening with this culture. How do we stand out? By being the best ones, by competing, by achieving more, by having more businesses, by getting more money, by being the highest grade students. This is what we do in a culture of competition and control. Now we're also bringing a lot of cultural aspects, which is how do people operate in, for example, China? How do you talk to each other? What does the government want? How do you see yourself? How do you operate? Do you have an opinion? Are you allowed to have an opinion? Did your parents raise you to have an opinion? Or were you raised in a way that was like, you shut your mouth and you turn out really good? Look at you, you turn out really good. So my kids, I'm gonna do the same thing and they should turn out really good. But it's not happening. It's not happening because they're not back in our home country. They're here in America. And they are faced with incongruence, which is the next step. Incongruence. I don't understand, Mom. You want me to be, or Dad, you want me to be this person who obeys, who is in control, who follows these rules. But I am in the United States where everybody's doing whatever they want and they seem very happy and they're speaking their truth and they're talking to their parents very openly, but you want me to be submissive to you and not tell you how I feel, but then I don't know what to do. That incongruence is what creates the internal chaos. That incongruence is what tears them apart inside because they want to communicate with you, but we shut them down. We don't give them the opportunity to talk. If they were to come to you and tell you, Mom, I really don't want to go to school anymore. I want to be a business person. What? No, just finish that. Just finish that and we'll figure out later. I'll pay for that and I'll give you this. No, Mom, I really don't want that. No, well, we're going to cut you off. That's it. We shut them off. And so how to open that? It requires that we improve our communication skills, which is the third piece. How do we communicate? We cannot communicate the same way that our parents communicated. My parents, don't talk back. Never, never. One time I stood up to my dad and I said, but Dad, not everything has to be work. Not everything has to be a task. I can have fun sometimes, right? I better not have said that, right? It was not a pretty view. My dad simply said, when we're done with all of the tasks that we need to complete, then you can have fun. Do you think I don't want to have fun? Do you think that your brothers don't want to have fun? What about these things that need to be done? Endless chatter. And guess what? He didn't hear me at all. And I did shut my mouth. And everything that I felt, never told him again. And I know that if you are in the United States, and even in China or wherever you are, I know this is not the way you want to communicate with your kids anymore. This is a new generation. This is not the way you want to live life anymore. I know that in my heart. So we need to improve our communication skills. We need to bite our tongue. My daughter would tell me like, Mom, just let me make my own mistakes, okay? And I'm like, don't say anything, Nancy, don't say anything, don't say anything. Just poker face. Okay, honey. All right, that's good. Many times I want to say so many things and I don't, because I want her to feel free to talk to me about what she needs and what she wants. So I had to change a lot. I had to change my communication skills. I had to change my opinions. She taught me so much. By just listening to her and her opinions, I learned a ton about myself, my upbringing, what I'm imposing on her, because I was doing the same thing to her that my dad did to me. I was like, no, you need to finish your homework and da-da-da. Mom, I want to go out and have, whatever, snack with my friends. No, after your homework and after you do your bed and after you shower and after da-da-da-da. The same pattern, I was repeating it with my daughter without knowing. And she called me on that. She said, I just feel like it's an endless task and I'll never get to be a young person again in my life. And I did not shut her down. I listened. That's how I change. I'm no longer like my parents. I am me now, a different parent. So the 3 ways that we can encourage success and happiness in our children is allow them to tell you, to speak what is it that they're passionate about, and encourage that. When my daughter said, I think I'm going to go to engineering. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, how can I support you? What can we do? Let's go travel to Virginia and let's tour. Let's go to Penn State and tour the schools. And she got accepted to really good schools. Even though her GPA wasn't like the maximum possible, she did really good.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is good.
Yes.
Engineers.
And so that's the thing. That's another thing that people say, oh, what school did she go to, right? And I'm not even mentioning it because I don't want that comparison to be there. But what I do want you to know is that I'm not discouraging the kids to not be successful. Successful has to be something that they decide what it is, not what I decide. What did my parent think, my dad think it was successful to get a career, to go to school? Why? Because he couldn't go to school. So what did I do? I did a Ph.D. But what are many people doing? They're not going to school. They're going to doing businesses and being happy and successful with that. So allowing means that we open ourselves up to what it could be. My daughter tells me, I think I'm going to spend 6 months or a year traveling the world. All right, go for it. What would my parent mind say? My dad would say, no, you need to get a job right now. You need to start saving because you can buy a house and you can do this, blah, 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 right? But I don't want to do that anymore. I want to allow her to be who she wants to be. So when she's driven to do something, it's from her passion. And when she makes mistakes, it's from her own upbringing and learning about herself. So that's the first way to encourage our children to be successful, is by allowing them to tune in inside and see, what is it that I want to do? What am I passionate about? Let's try. Let's figure out things. Let's try different things. The next one is define what success means. Because success for many people could be money. But for some people is having a family. For some people, it's traveling the world. For some people, it is helping other people. For some people, it is just being happy in general. So define what happiness means to your child. So I'll keep bringing the example of my daughter. My daughter is a person, a people person. She loves being around people. And for her, being around people is what fills her up. But also having a purpose fills her up. And so what is her definition of success? Is to have her tribe of people. That's her definition of success. And can she travel the world with a lot of people and making money? That's her definition of success. My dad's definition of success is how many business do you have? How many Ph.Ds do you have? How, houses you have? How much money do you have? Are you secure for your future? That's his definition of success. So we need to listen to what is their definition of success. And the third one, and the hardest one to do, let go. Let go of control. Let go. If your child makes a mistake, just brace yourself and let go. And accept them. Accept them the way they are. Let go trying to mold them. Let go trying to control who they need to be. Let go trying to control their future. We care for them, and we want the best for them, and we want success for them, but we also need to let go and let them make their own mistakes. So I'm open to questions now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yes. Any questions? Don't stop again.
No, I'm just see if anyone
Sure.
comments.
So I have a quick question. You talk about like a role. Basically, you're trying to give the kids a chance to try different things. But there must be something like a kind of like a hard boundary. Basically, the kids cannot cross the line. So how do you define this thing?
Great question. So there are two things that you mentioned there. One is allowing the kids to explore and see what they want.
Right.
And so, for example, something that I did with my daughter is I sat with her and I asked her, what are some of the things that you love, that you're passionate about? So we started looking into, well, I like organizing things, and I like inventing new things, and I like looking at this in new ways. I like nature. I like the conserving things and saving. So by listening to her, we were able to, between the two of us, we were able to encourage her to go in a certain path, right? And so we did some tests, and she scored really high in psychology. I don't know why. And then she scored really high in engineering because of her passion. So I encouraged her passion. And so another thing is, I know also that she was a teenager.
Yeah.
And a teenager is gonna want to explore everything, and I know the frontal lobe is not completely developed yet, so I have to shield her and protect her a little bit.
Right.
So I had to use techniques to encourage her to be active and to make her own decisions, but based on a solid set of values that I bring. So for example, I enroll her in water polo, volleyball activities, where she was using her physical body, her mind, and strategies to learn new skills. A lot of her friends were at the store, at the mall, like, oh, let's just smoke or let's do this. And that, I'm not saying that that's bad or good, everybody's different. But I wanted her to develop first so she could later make the decision based on her level of maturity, not on what everybody else was doing. So the development came from her self-esteem, from loving herself and making that decision for herself. So all throughout, she chose. Now, she of course had the pressure, because it's inevitable. We are going to put pressure on our children. They see us as like, oh my God, my parents, we still see our parents that way. So we are going to put a little bit of pressure that way, but it's the way that I lived my life that made the difference. Because I'm present with her, I'm involved in her life, I am doing what I know fulfills me, and she won't hear my words, she will see what I do, and she'll model after that.
So So yeah, I see your point. Basically, I think the key point is you have to build up the trust between your daughter and you, and also the communication channel make it through. But let's see, just give one example. So it not happened because my kids is kind of like still like 5 years old, 7 years old. So let's say if the kids grow up, they say that, like dad, I want to try. I see someone was smoking, they try the pot, so I want to do the same thing. Is that so? What are you gonna say at that time?
Yes. So that's a great point. What I would do, and that doesn't mean that everybody has to do this, I would have a moment to research all of it. So it's not coming from like, everybody else is doing it, I want to do it, but more from a conscious decision. Let's research it. What are the pros and cons? What are the studies about smoking damages in the brain at such an early age? I'm not saying no, but if you're going to make that decision, let's make it from a smart, intelligent way and not from everybody else is doing it. Because that builds a self-esteem. And so when the kid goes out and says, the other children say like, hey, why don't you smoke? He has a way of saying, not like, oh, my dad said no, but more like, no, do you know the damage of that?
Right, from himself instead of
Yes.
from the parents, right?
Exactly. So for example, my daughter would be offered constantly like, hey, why don't you smoke? Why don't you smoke? And she'll say, no, I'm okay, thank you. Why don't you? It doesn't hurt you. It's okay. It's fine. And she said, listen, if I'm vegetarian, would you force me to have meat?
Yeah,
You
that's
wouldn't.
a good point. Yeah, that's
Right?
a good point.
It's a choice. So she is standing in her own truth because that's what she believed at that moment. Could she change her mind later? She could, definitely. But she's making a decision from her integrity, from her inner self, not from the pressure that we're putting on her, from education. So maybe you are a parent that believes in smoking pot. Maybe you're okay with that. And you tell the kid, well, let's do it together first. But you also have to do your own research on how you're harming or benefiting your kid. So it's every culture, of course, every household is different, and I'm not telling you that there's one correct way. I'm just seeing how that over parenting can hurt the kids when we don't allow them that communication.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. Great question.
Yeah, I see your point. Because like most time, like a kid, since they have bunch of friends, they have small group. I mean, if the older people in the group, other people were doing the thing, you try to be in one of them. So maybe you're gonna do the similar thing like what they do. They say, hey, let's try it. Other people try it. Why you're so special? Are you English with us or something? So sometimes kids cannot just say no. That's why they just started to do something. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying they start to do something different.
I agree. Yes. So one of the things that I told my daughter was like, listen, blame it on me. Blame it on me. Oh, my mom will kill me. I don't care. I'll be the bad person. I don't care. But it's giving her an out so she's not uncool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm saying, hey, when you feel strong enough in yourself and you trust yourself well, just say no. Don't put pressure on me. But that's the thing that we need to build on ourselves. But if we build the opposite, like, shh, don't say anything, just avoid them, don't say no, don't say yes, just do this, hide, we're not building their self-strength, their inner strength. We're not building their abilities to say, no, I don't want to because I don't want to, or yes, I want to because I want to. We're molding them instead of encouraging them.
Thank you. I think you also you almost answered my second question already. So my second question is like kids sometimes they want to manage their own mistake. Basically, you give the chance for them to manage their own mistake. But from parents' perspective, they might thinking, oh, this mistake is kind of damage forever, going to be bad for your life or something. So you don't want them even touch it. So how are you going to manage that? You trying to give some space for kids, but you also trying to have some limitation like a bar. To say don't try that, that's going to be hurt your entire life,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think you already answered my question.
And with that, the human brain takes a little while to finish myelinating and developing. So by the time kids are, I want to say, between 18 to 23, their brain's still finishing developing, which is this part of the brain that controls how we see the future, how we see abstractly. So when we tell a kid, like, oh, right now, don't make this mistake because it's going to affect you in 20 years, the kid is like, what does 20-year look like? I don't get it. They're not able to comprehend that. So at that moment, as they are developing, we can study with them and say, these could be the consequences of in the future for you. And for now, I'm going to hold this space, but I'm going to give you a lot of information and education while your brain is developing. And so allow them to develop that. So, Steve.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, in my case, my daughter is 24. I think I did a lot of things like what you said, what do you call that, comparison. And my daughter will remind me, Mom, why did you compare?
Yes. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, so now she's off to the Bay Area, San Francisco, and she asked, she wants to go further away from me.
Yes.
So I thought that maybe I did some damage. What I do, to repair this kind of relationship.
Yes, great question. I love that you want to repair that. I love that.
Of course.
Thank you. Yes.
Mhm.
So child wants to set a boundary between the two of you so she can find herself.
That's true.
And so if we impose ourselves on them, we're not respecting the boundary. So part of setting the boundary is saying, can I define where you end and where I begin? Because I don't know where that is. And so she is going to be the one deciding that, not you. So for that, you can start the communication by saying like, hey, I would love to talk to you weekly if that works for you. Maybe we can set like Sunday afternoons that we talk because I miss you. And then you just listen. You don't say anything. You don't give opinions. So the way that it's going to say is like, hi, honey, how are you? How's school? How's everything? How's life? How are, I don't know, San Francisco. Tell me all about it. Everything's good. We did this in this class. Your answer is going to be, the entire time is going to be like, huh, really? No. Uh-huh. Tell me more. No. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I totally see it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love talking to you. Well, have a good day, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next Sunday.
So that's it. The conversation from parents is as simple as like that.
Yep.
Really, yeah. I think you're right, because when I talk to my daughter, I want to give her advice, as like a mother, to help to protect the daughter. And she would say, Mom, I don't need your advice.
Yes.
I just want to talk to you.
Exactly.
So this is
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
so
so
I didn't even realize that from mother's side, I really want to protect her.
yes.
Do all the things that
Yes.
benefit to her.
Exactly.
But she didn't see that way.
Yeah. And so the thing is that while they are growing up, we instill a lot of values in them by the way that we behave, by the way we interacted, good or bad, we instill in them. By the time they get to high school, that's it. Our chances are done. We cannot influence them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Who influences them? Their peers.
Yes. That's for
The
sure.
peers decide. Our parents, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know anything. I hate them. I can't wait to move. Right?
Mhm.
But it's not because they hate you necessarily, but because they're trying to find their own identity. But let me tell you something. Your voice is going to be right here. And your values are going to become her values. And she'll start adopting them. But inside of her are the seeds that you planted already. So you don't need to worry about it anymore. You planted the seeds. You don't go around and like, let me see if the seed sprouted. Oh, no, not yet. Let me see again. No, you don't do that. You let it be. And so now you trust her. She will, like for example, my daughter would say, Mom, I don't know what to do with this and that. And I'm like, I don't know, what are your choices? I put it back on her. Well, I could do this, I could do that. I don't know, what do you think? I put it back on her. Well, I think I should do this. Thanks for listening. Done. Now there are times when she would say, Mom, I really need your opinion. Tell me what to do. When she says that, then she's asking me directly. But if she's not, I don't say a word, because all she needs is a sounding board. If she really needed my opinion, she would say, Mom, what do you think I should do with this? And even then, I throw it back at her. Even then I said, what do you think? Because I want her to develop her inner strength and her inner skills to make her own decisions. Now, if she were to say, I don't know, I think I should do this really bad thing, I would say, okay, so what do you think is going to happen? I keep asking her. So she develops that skill of getting to know herself, getting to know what's right or wrong, versus counting on me 100% of the time to tell her what's right or wrong. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, oh, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
I have a question about how to managing the young children's anxiety. Even though I have a 7-year-old, and then my husband and me, actually don't set a high expectation to go to a really good college. Or say even community college, go to a four-year college and then get a bachelor degree and can provide herself in the future. That's our expectation. But the thing is, she compared herself with her friends, which made her, really anxious.
Yes.
And also, her friends compare her as well. Their friends is gonna brag, oh, I do better on this, and you are not good at this, blah blah like that. Make her really anxious and scary kind of.
Yes.
And then, so she's very anxious and she feels depressed kind of.
Yep. Yes. Now, what are you modeling for her?
Which drives me feel anxious as well.
Exactly. Because what she sees is the world is unsafe. Let me go to safety. Oh God, that's unsafe too. I'm lost. Where do I look now? Where do I go? And so what kids need is for the parents to be solid. To be solid and say, I love me. I love me and I'm secure of me. And I love you, no matter what anybody says. And I'm here, strong, in myself, believing in myself. So when the kid is getting bombarded by these things outside of herself, she can go back to security, to safety, to knowing that you hold a space for her, that you are okay, that you hold yourself up, So what I would say, your focus is not on changing your daughter.
It's changing myself.
Yes. She will look up to you always. As she's growing up, she will model after you. If you put your head down and don't say anything and get anxious, and you tell her like, honey, go love yourself, don't pay attention to them. Did you see what this person said to me? She's not gonna hear your words. She's gonna see the way you're behaving. But if you say like, let's do something we love. Who cares what everybody thinks? I love doing this, why don't we do that? She will hear your entire body, your entire energy vibrating this like confidence. So that's who you need to work on, not her. To model.
Do you feel that because you're not born here, you're not part of this culture, so that you're not sure like how to stand, like in your place here?
Yes,
Yeah, another thing drives me.
Can you close the door?
Another thing drives me anxious is that I didn't go to school here. I went to for undergrad here, and eventually go to graduate school here. But so I didn't go to the elementary, and now she's in school, and I don't really know how the school runs, which drives me anxious as well. Even though I try to help in the classroom, try and showing up there as much as I can, but still makes me feel anxious.
And the same for me. I studied in Venezuela. I studied in another country. I went to middle school, high school, even college in Venezuela. So when I came here, I had no idea how things worked. But that didn't have to necessarily change who I am or how I perceive myself. All I needed to do was educate myself about it and make mistakes. Now, your anxiety may be coming from another place, but this might not be the time to talk about it. Your anxiety might be coming from some other insecurities that I can feel. Yes. And so that is what needs to be worked on. Nothing else. That piece. You can feel it, you know.
I can.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question. So basically, there was some kind of conversation always happened between my daughter and myself. So what happens is like, you know, right now she's still in elementary school. She said, "Daddy, I don't like math. I like something like a, you know, photographer, like what National Geography they're doing. So why do I need if I taking like, you know, for like photographer as my career goal, why do I need to learn the math?"
Yeah.
So for now, I'm just seeing like a math is kind of like a basis, you know, before you just reach to the career like a photographer, you have to make sure you have like a, you know,
angles and all of that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's all math.
so, but she still kind of say like, I take picture, like use my cell phone, why do I need math? So I'm not saying like I'm trying to force her to take, you know, say you have to learn, you know, you can go to college and later on you can just maybe get this, you know, job. Otherwise, you know, if let's say you don't learn this currently, you don't build up yourself, you lost your chance. So I don't know this conversation is right or not for me, so I just trying to get some suggestion from you.
Yeah, that's a great point. So my daughter did the same thing, like, I'm never gonna use this trigonometry and blah, 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 whatever. Why do I need to take this? This is useless. Why take, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so part of what we were sort of working on educating her is opening her mind a little bit on ways that she could possibly use it. How, when engaging in a future, let's say that she does want to do photography, you're going to travel the world and you hate history. But maybe as you take a picture of the Colosseum in Paris, in Italy, you start noticing the history and you remember your history lesson that you hated so much. Or maybe as you're taking pictures, you need to know the right angle of pictures and you need to do a little bit of math. So sort of like not making it like, math is horrible and I need to force you to have it, but more educating and expanding her knowledge about the possibilities of how.
Found some connection between like what she was interested in with the math. And just tell her like math actually is still useful, even though you didn't realize, but it's still there.
Yes.
Something like that.
So my daughter had some teachers that were horrible. And I'm sure that everybody can identify with this. Horrible teachers, where she would come home crying because of how horrible these teachers were. And I could have saved her and said like, let's change it, let's do this. But something that I was teaching her was, what skills can you learn from this interaction? Because guess what? You will have another teacher like her. You will have a boss like her. You will have an employee like her. You will have things in the future like her. So let's not make her the evil person, but let's actually turn it around and see what is it that you can learn from this experience and how it can help you. And I tell you, it worked. Because she had a horrible teacher again in high school and she was able to manage that teacher like this because she learned the skills early on. And later she was like, wow, I didn't realize, but it worked. Now she is in college and she's taking classes that are very, very difficult and she's not quitting. Because she says, I want to challenge myself. Not just take the easy road, but challenge myself. And so it's all about communication. That is the key to everything. It's not about discouraging them or saying, don't be successful or pushing them, but it's communication. That's the main key of this talk today. Anything else?
Did we done?
Anything else?
Any
Questions? Any other?
I just didn't wake up.
All right.
Awesome. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much, Ellie, for having me in your Temple Beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love the series that are coming up for you. And if you have any more questions, please follow me on social media, and I also have my handle and my website too that you guys can ask me more information.
Yes, and you guys can follow Dr. Nancy on
Facebook?
Facebook,
many places.
Instagram,
Yes.
LinkedIn, Twitter, and
Social media.
TikTok.
All the social medias.
All of that.
Douyin.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks
for
for
having me.
everyone
Thank
for
you.
joining us today, and this is a really great like a talk for all of us to
Thank
learn
you.
something about parenting.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.